updates and compliance check-in. So per PCM's charter school contract with the commission, PCM trustees should regularly review the statement of assurances to ensure we are fulfilling our obligation to the contract. The head of school update is provided to board members via the board dashboard, and it offers us an opportunity when we receive it to review it ahead of the board meeting. For this meeting, because later we're going to be touching on many of the issues that are normally part of the head of school's update, the head of school will briefly highlight high-level aspects of the dashboard. But as I said, the bulk of this conversation will be reserved for towards the end of the meeting during current state and budget revision sessions. So I open it up to Layla.
Share here. All right. And I'll point out just accessibility wise, I always put the PCM school charter contract, statement of assurances, commission's oversight manual, all the performance framework handbooks, as well as the school specific goals that have been approved for this year in the linked in the body of the agenda, so that it's always easy to go back and access if you need to refer to that. So I'll hit the higher level overview of this, since we're going to be talking about it more later. The most important parts of it here are just updates. This keeps us updated with where we are at with enrollment and then where we anticipate to be. This number is just because we do have some students who have shown interest that may be enrolling, but we don't know if they're going to enroll before the first count day. And what happens here is you'll see this like update to whatever it is on the first count day, and that's what's submitted to OSPI through what's called the P223 form, and what abortion is based off of. And we continue to do this monitoring each board meeting. These are out of date, and I did not have time to update them, I'm realizing, so I will update those for the next board meeting. But these tables are up to date, so it shows our demographics in relation to other schools in the community. This is up to date as well, which reflects like what our special ed population is and where we sit with our category of economically disadvantaged. So these at least are up to date.
Can I ask a question about the numbers in parentheses after LAP and Title I?
Yeah, it's what they were the year before, but again, I can hit these updated.
Okay.
The next one that we want to look at, and if there's any questions on, it's pretty moot at this point, because there needs to be an update here, but I didn't change it because there have not been any decisions on that yet. But it does let us know where we're tracking with enrollment applications to date. And then we are business of the month coming up here in April, so we have some things.
The applications, is that 13, can you go back to the applications?
Yeah.
The 13 numbers,
13
the numbers,
Yep.
5 in January, 5 in February for
Yep.
next school year?
Yeah, yep.
Those all
Because-
kindergarten or mostly kindergarten?
So if you look up here, it's a distribution.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I
across
see. Yeah,
kindergarten,
thank you.
third grade, okay, yeah. So this part up here is accurate. It's just the targets that we have for budgeted C amount are not. Okay, the modified enrollment, I'm not gonna actually go into this, I'm just gonna let you know that it's there to be able to access, because, it's what fed into adjusting for, predicting what our future enrollment would be and making growth adjustments. But since we're gonna talk about that extensively later, I won't go into it now. This is how we keep track of, right, the exited student summary, that shows what the, exit and entrance reasons are for students, so we keep track here. This is quite slow. There's a lot of information in this particular slide because there's a number of tables that let you know, like, why we, have rejected applications, why it falls into certain categories. But these have all been updated, so. The, next tab is the compliance tab. Okay, so the compliance tab, and so the link here is for the current compliance calendar, and that remains there until it gets updated for the next year. And then I track here which ones, are submitted late, or if there's one that is, past due and pending submission, and we keep track based on this. I provide the screenshots from, Epicenter, which is the platform that we use for uploading, our deliverables. And that's accessed by a couple different people. This is our running certification status,
I
so.
have questions about the compliance tracker.
Say that one more time?
Does it time to ask questions about the compliance tracker?
Yeah.
I would love an update on the past due one that was due on, 10/1.
Yep, so, yes, that's the annual performance report, that I hope to have in by, right around in December, and then, we had a number of things happen, so I wasn't able to keep up, and so my hope is to get it done, at the end of the month. I was working with, Watch Harders to get some of that data, because we fell behind on that, at the beginning of the school year with our Montessori coach being in the classroom. So yes, this one is the delay, it's the same one that was delayed the last, board meeting.
And then just a clarification by the end of the month to be February?
That is what I'm trying to do.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Could you notify the board when?
yeah, because we'll all
people
share it
did
with
that?
you,
Yeah,
and then
okay.
it'll be shared at the, also at the board meeting.
Thank you.
Can you comment on, has that annual performance review report been late in previous years?
No.
That was submitted by 10/1 previous years.
Say that again.
It was submitted by 10/1 by October 1st in previous years of the charter.
This date fluctuates a little bit, but I do believe it was turned in on time in previous years. I can go back and check to confirm.
Looking at that, oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm just looking at the submitted there, so, that doesn't reflect submitted on time. That's just submitted. Of the 34 that need to be submitted, 33 were actually submitted and one is outstanding, which is that annual performance
So if it's green,
report.
it's submitted on time. If it's yellow, it was submitted late. If it's red, it has not been submitted.
Right, I get that, but that submitted category you have there, that's just submitted, that's not, the first figure there, the submitted one.
First one.
Oh, yeah, okay, sorry, yes, it breaks it down, into these categories, submitted versus past due. And then over here is when it breaks it out as being on time, late, or past due.
Okay. And so when we look at that on time, we can see from that we're only 71% compliant, right?
71% submitted on time. I don't know exactly how it's counted, but yes.
Right, but that reflects compliance, right? We're in time, we're compliant. If we're not in time, we're not compliant, even if it's
Yeah.
in for a short period of time.
Yes, correct.
Leila, does the board have any obligation? Yep, does the board have any obligation to review and approve before any reports are submitted?
There are certain reports that require the board to actually vote on them before they're submitted. So the school-specific, where are they at? For example, like school-specific goals, those ones are voted on by the board before they're submitted. So, like this one, the recurrent enrollment needed to be voted on by the board before I could submit it. And I asked for an extension, but I didn't, submit it on time for the extended portion. So that's why it shows up as late. But yes, there are several of the, it goes through, so if you go through the compliance calendar here, it shows which ones we have to vote on. Handbooks, and have to be voted on, like right up here. So we have to plan out when things get presented to the board to make sure that they are, they get approved in time to be submitted for the compliance deadline.
That makes sense, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, in the last tab, staff certifications, I did like update this a little bit so that it is clearer to identify the certification status of staff members. Now, just remember that this doesn't include all of the staff members at PCM because there's a number of positions that don't require certification. This only lists the staff members that require certification and the ones that by tradition we usually ask to be emergency certified, like our instructional assistants, although some of our instructional assistants are certificated. To get emergency or conditional certification, this is where we vote at a board to be able to acknowledge their certification status. And then they get put into this tracker. And I update it because some of the certifications, for example, are in transition. So for example, their Idaho state certification is being transferred to Washington. So if, for example, like by the next board meeting, if this is completely transferred, I'll update the notes. So we can keep track there.
How long does it take to typically transfer a certificate from one state to another? Is it a very difficult requirements in the state, from Washington to Idaho, for example, or the other way around, Idaho to Washington?
There can be some differences, like clock hours. If it depends on how long it takes the employee to, if there is something that is, for example, clock hours that need to be accrued before they can get the full transfer over and then they have to turn it in. It can be a short period, it can be a long period, but once they do submit that information, it can take quite a while before they process it through the office and it transfers. So many times what we'll do is get them emergency certified while they're in that transition process.
Leila, can you just give us an overview of the status of the new SPED IAs?
So we do not ask for our special education instructional assistants don't need to be certified. But they are also different than our other classroom instructional assistants who we tend to get emergency certified in case they need to sub in the lead position. We don't do that for our SPED IAs because we don't want them to be pulled as subs. So that's something that we've tried to start being consistent about so that they can't get pulled. They're not a sub option.
Leila, I've got a question in the chat.